How do you know which are the best tyres to get for you? Because there ultimately are many optimisations. You've got summer tyres, winter tyres, off-road tyres, EV tyres, efficient tyres, all within the same brand. And there's many more than that. You get my point. There's a ton of options out there. And not everyone's a tyre geek like me. So how do you go about choosing the best tyre for the car? Because there's no such thing as, this is the best tyre, everybody go get this. There are too many variables to say that as a generic statement. So this is the methodology that I use to choose the best tyre for our cars. And to give you an example, this has had 3 different combinations, if you will, over the 5 years we've owned this car. How's that happened? Because surely the best tyre is just the best tyre. So how did we go through 3 combinations? Let's start with this car. Well, it came with the Michelin Pilot Sport 4s, the Tesla OEM variant of that, and they're fantastic tyres. It suits this car down to the ground. But we live in North Yorkshire. We're quite high up and we're usually above the snow line. So effectively we're 2 miles down the road, down the hill. There's no snow at all. We're almost impassable. And although the tyres were great, those few weeks or month or so of the year where the winter came and snow, ice, that sort of thing, we saw the worst of it, and it wasn't quite good enough for us. So we then switched to the Cross Climate 2s because they're all season tyres, they're good in summer, they're good in winter. Again, they suit the car and they give us the extra capability in winter to, well, do what we need to do to get to work and back and so forth. But then recently, and this is something I've mentioned in a video about winter tyres, our situation changed. She works for the police. She has to get to work. She can't ring up and say, oh, it's snowing, can I work from home? Not an option. So, because she's now working almost exclusively at night, so she'll be finishing at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and it's now 20 miles away in Bradford, I want that extra capability of winter tyres. So we went for the Alpine 7 tyres, which meant we then needed the summer tyres to go with them, because you're not just going to use winter tyres all year round, of course. So we started with the PS4 by themselves, we then went to the Cross Climate 2s by themselves, and now we're on the winter-summer tyre combination of the Alpine 7 and the PS4s again. Because that shift change, that distance change, meant that it's only a few weeks of the year that it would affect us, but we need that extra capability. Because that's, again, as I said in the previous video, I don't want to be waking up at 3 AM saying, I'm stuck in snow in the middle of Bradford. If it's been coming down for days or if it's just started snowing, she still has to go to work and come back. It's not an option to ring in, as it were. So that's why we went down that path. And that's a classic example of how our situational change has meant that we've gone for different tyres on the same car. So let me give you a few more examples. You have to excuse the cool looking sunglasses. It's rather sunny here in North Yorkshire. It's very disturbing. But look, it's the Say It Me Electric, the perfect second car, runabout, whatever you want to call it. It just does the local stuff. It's not exactly a performance car either, so I don't need to go for ultimate grip. This will be getting, well, primacy tyres, because that will suit the car. I want to prioritise efficiency and longevity, value. Let's change it up now where we have a car that does dictate what tyres go on it. This is an amazing car, the Ioniq 5N, 640 brake horsepower if you press the right buttons. It's an amazing feat of engineering, and it's redefined what electric vehicles are capable of in terms of fun and track performance. It's a performance car. It's got more power than some Lamborghinis that are still sold today. It's a supercar almost in terms of its performance, and yet it's a family car. That for me would dictate the tyres that go on it, because you will want grip above all else. There'll be days when you've got sun like this, you've got the country roads, and you'll put your foot down and you do something just a little bit silly. So to avoid getting in a hedge, and given the power that has and the skill it would take to rein that in, which I don't have, then grip has got to be everything. You're not going to put cheap tyres on that one. So I would go for the best summer tyres I could get, and then I would go for performance winter tyres. And yes, they absolutely exist. Performance winter tyres are a thing, because when you've got that level of power, you need grip in every situation. So that's a combination that I would never change if I owned that Ioniq 5N car. I would want the best in summer, the best in winter. It doesn't matter what I do with it, that will always, for me, take priority, because the car's got so much power, I don't want to be caught out by putting something cheap on it. Now let's change it again in what is a sad time for the channel, because this, the Model S 75D, the S-Box, the 190,000 mile car that I got just for the channel, that has now gone. But before it went, it had a set of new tyres on it, which it absolutely needed, because the car came with these, which were, shall we say, a little bit dodgy. Again, this is a good example of what's the situation. 75D dual motor Tesla Model S, my entire usage of that car is just piling the miles on. Go to the office and back, 200-mile round trip. Go to my parents and back, 600-mile round trip. Basically, any journey of any length, it was in that car. Because if you've done 160,000 miles in a car or 190,000 miles in a car, it's not really going to affect its value, is it? So it was just sat on the motorway for 90% of its life, just doing that, nothing. So again, I'm going to prioritise efficiency and longevity for a car that's just basically going up and down the motorway. So that got the e-Primacy tyres on there from Michelin, and they suited it perfectly. It changed the composure of it, because I didn't realise the tyres I got as a stopgap that came with the new wheels were that bad, quite frankly. Unknown brand number one. And that leads me to my final thought on tyres, if you will. Not just the methodology of looking at your usage pattern. Looking at the car, of course, that's a variable. Looking where you live, looking what you do with it. And then think, okay, do I prioritise, or do I want to go for the efficient tyres? Do I need grip? Do I need a level of winter capability? All these need to be factored in. But again, one more thing that I do think I really do need to mention, because it's something that I see a lot of people that I know personally, not just on social media, skimping out on, and that is tyres. Again, it's the thing that joins you to the road. If you have cheap tyres, it will often be a false economy to get those to save money. Yes, you might save 20, 30, 40 pound per corner on cheap tyres, as opposed to something like a Michelin tyre, a premium brand if you will. Those will almost certainly last longer. They will be more efficient, they will use less fuel, whether it's petrol or electric or diesel or whatever. So again, you will probably ultimately save more money by getting the best tyre for you, and a premium one at that, whatever the brand is. This is the mantra that I've always been given from day one. I've been driving for over 20 years, and I've always gone off the same thing. Make sure the tyres you have are at least as good, if not better, than everybody around you. Because in the event of an emergency situation, an emergency stop, you want to make sure that you don't go into the back of the person in front. And believe me, in terms of cost, that will be way more expensive than 20, 30 pounds a corner per tyre. Because ultimately, well, that's going to put your insurance up. It's going to have a repair, a curbed wheel. If you have to abandon your car down the road. In fact, that happened to somebody just over there, a couple of streets over. They couldn't get up in the winter up the road that we live in that I mentioned, so they had to abandon it on the main road, and somebody has just taken off the wing mirror because it was parked there and everybody else was skidding around. And the wing mirror has taken out it's like a quarter-light glass as well. Essentially, it's cost them a few £100 worth of damage from the person that obviously didn't stop either, because their tyres they had, and we've had this conversation with them, I know them, they were cheap. They couldn't cope, and whereas everyone else was getting up the hill and it wasn't that bad at the stage, they couldn't. And now it's cost them hundreds of pounds because they decided to save 20, 30 quid per corner. And of course, I could go down the cliche of the safety aspect of it. Having the best grip, the thing that connects the car to the road, it is genuinely safer. Of course it is. We've all been driving, well, if you have been driving long enough, I certainly have, where you've had a few of those situations where you've had to slam on and you're kind of like, whoa, that was close. If I'd have had cheap tyres, I'd have probably gone into back of a few people over the years of driving, rather than the Michelin tyres I have always used. Now, full disclosure, if you watch the channel, you'll already know this. I'm a brand ambassador for Michelin tyres. They support the channel. But I've been doing that a few months. I've used Michelin tyres for my entire driving career, over 20 years. I've done this channel for 10 years, and throughout that channel, anytime I've done something about tyres, I've always said the same thing, Michelin tyres. So yes, take everything with a pinch of salt because they are supporting the channel, but I have been saying this for 10 years and I've been an ambassador for a few months. So how do you go about choosing your tyres? Because not everybody, again, is a tyre geek. You could just trust what your local tyre specialist says. But if you want to find out yourself, because again, this is something which I think more people should look into. I think it should be part of car education, basic car maintenance. Put your reg in, it spews out all your options, and then just go down the methodology that I've mentioned here. What car have we got? Do we need a certain performance tyre because the car's a powerful one, a Porsche Taycan, for example? No. Okay then, well, do we do a lot of miles? What do we want to optimise? Do we need winter capability? Look at all the options and then just read what each one is about. You know, all the data's there in front of you. So there we go. That's how I do it. That's how I think it works best. It's not just the best tyre for a car, it's the best tyre for you in that car. Right, fingers crossed that made sense. And hopefully it will stay as sunny as this. I very much doubt it, so I'll probably need the various rain capability of my tyres very, very soon. So again, once more, thank you for Michelin for supporting the channel. Thank you for supporting the channel by watching this. And if you want to be, you can pay 99p a month to become a member of the channel. You just click the join button next to subscribe. And for 99p, you get videos on Sunday instead of Friday and occasional members only videos as well. And the Driving Home podcast is coming back. Yes, properly this time in all the places that the podcast usually appears. So keep an eye out for that. So again, thank you for watching and I'll see you soon.